This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we're the ones who have always encouraged you to like and share them on your favorite social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, presented by Nutrition World, Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce. And right now, here's the host of the show, the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having an amazing day. I am definitely so excited about today's show. We do have a guest. She'll be coming on in just a few minutes. Today is with Cheryl Myers from Terry Naturally, the one and only that comes on and tells us about A1C and high glucose and inflammation and pain control. An amazing, amazing human that has lots of information to share. But before we begin, I do have a few announcements. I would like to tell you about a Memorial Day special. If you are listening from afar or you can't get to Nutrition World in Fort Pierce, our Memorial Day special is 20% off your supplement order and free shipping. So usually the store at $100 we give 10% off, and at $200 we give 20% off. But for the Memorial Day special, 20% off your supplement order and free shipping. And if you come in store, just please mention the Memorial Day special, and of course you get it too. As well as our sound bed, is now combined with the pulse electromagnetic frequency mat. So if you've been listening to podcasts or shows that are explaining the amazing benefits of PEMF and sound healing devices, we have combined ours into one, and it's really wonderful. So we know that everyone's time is very valuable, so we want to get the most for your money. So there's no additional charge with the two devices combined, but it's wonderful. For 25 minutes, you just lay in this real comfy bed, and the sound programs we use are by David Gibson, who is world-renowned for his sound healing techniques and his accredited college in California. So if you want to check that out, we have his Unconditional Love, his Water for Life, his weight loss one, which is very intense and cool, and his Enlightenment, Awakening. Not enlightenment yet, but awakening. So you definitely want to check that out. And I'm also going to do a wellness special that I did for Mother's Day, because everyone loved it on Mother's Day. So for our $99 detox day, where you get a massage and 2 other services, I'm going to add 1 extra service for free. So that would be a $35 savings. So if you want to check that out, that's a detox day, and that's $99. And if you bring another person with you, then you get another service for free. So that's a $70 value. So what a deal. So we book those on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. So give the store a call, 464-3598, or check us out online, joannesnutritionworld.com. So for all my listeners, they know I usually don't have this much chitter chatter about the store, but the reason is I'm trying to buy time for our guest to come on. We're having some technical difficulties to get her on, and so it's okay. Everyone knows I love to talk, so I can keep talking. So the other really cool thing we have going on for this summer is that I am taking a vacation June 23rd for a week, so with my family. But we have wonderful Diane, who is my full-time employee. She will be there the whole time, but we will not be booking wellness services that week because our massage therapist will also be taking a vacation. So if you want to book your wellness detox day, then definitely try to get it in as soon as possible, or you can always book it after July 1st to help you out. So I think I'm keep talking, all right? Not working out? Okay. All right.
She
So,
apparently has the right code, but it's further down on the message. Her link is in there on that message, but it's further down. She probably couldn't find it.
okay, so should I send her any specific information to
Well, yeah, the
link it?
same, the original email has the link on it, dated for today.
Okay, so I'll send her that one. I know where that is. All right, so do some breath work with
Yes.
my listeners. How
There
does
we
that
go.
sound?
Okay, well, we'll do that.
I definitely need it now.
Well, I
So,
need it
yeah.
now. I hope I can do it. Okay. I can't remember how to count to 3. Let's see. All right, are we ready? Let's let it all out. Let all the air out and all the negativity, break it all. Okay, in slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. One more time. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel better?
Well, what's that expression? Stuff happens.
Well, I read the
Can I
bumper
say
sticker.
that other S word on air? I don't think so, right?
Well, you have to leave the room away from the microphones and
Oh,
say anything you want.
so I can just pretend I'm walking through the hallway and say it,
Well,
and it just
I
might
just
get
can't. I
captured.
can't imagine you stubbing your toe at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, "Oh heavens to Betsy,
Right.
I done stubbed my toe."
Oh,
No, it's not like
you know
that.
what? I have a funny story for my listeners. So my kids love to kind of sneak up on me
Oh yeah.
and make me get startled, and then, because they're trying to get me to pee in my pants,
Th-
right? Because it's
Oh,
like
that's
the
what
big joke, right?
they're trying to do that.
So now I've gotten older and wiser, so I kind of can sense, when they're up to no good. But my daughter and son have never ever have I been able to startle them. I've tried so many times, like hiding by the front door when they come home from school,
So you found a
because they
way.
watch all these things on social media, all
Oh
these
yeah,
families that are doing all these pranks to each other every day. I'm like, who has
punking each
time for
other.
this? Who
Yeah.
has time? Like one mom, she's hiding on the top of a fridge. Like, who has time to plan these things, right? So it just so happened that I knew my daughter went into my son's room. And so I hid in the laundry room, which is right outside my son's door thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to get her. I'm going to get her. Well, she comes out and into the hallway. And I jumped and said, boo. She literally she's tall. She's much taller than me. She almost hit the ceiling.
Oh no. Good thing there wasn't a
She
ceiling
really,
fan.
it was awesome. It just made my day because I was like, finally, 20 years and I haven't been able to get them. So I can see how those shows maybe get a little exciting, when you're always playing those pranks. All right. So poor Cheryl, she's so amazing. What's happening?
We've got a
All
lot of
right.
her in the archives though.
Well, I can tell everyone about the podcast that I've been listening to this morning. So, one of my clients yesterday, Denise, hi Denise, I love you. She told me about this episode. It's the Ed Milet show. So, he's really famous. So, hopefully, many of my listeners know about him already. But he had on his show, May 21st, Robin Sharma, Sharma. What an incredible podcast this is. So they are basically kind of saying the things that I have tried to understand and live by. Some days are more difficult than others. And that is, true wealth is not acquiring objects by any means. And it's not constantly spending your days working to build a bank account. It is the wealth of having incredible relationships, incredible conversations, the curiosity about the world, just exploring the world and making sure that you have time to regroup and refocus, and not just task your day away. There is, like Matt and I were discussing that this morning, there is a point that it is important to know if you want to create a new life or a little new personality trait, you do have to create new habits to become that new person. So sometimes gentle reminders like making a list or a little checkoff list is important. So that is where I feel like it's not an OCD where you're overthinking something, you're reminding yourself who you want to become. So, for instance, I'm on autopilot every morning. Even though we are drinking decaf coffee, we are still having our coffee ritual in the morning like we have for years. I do the massage chair. It just like my body walks to it without even thought. You do the brush your teeth, get dressed, you have the same conversation. It's such extreme habits that you are not even aware of. So when you want to create new patterns and new awareness, like I want to start my day every morning, which I tell all my clients to do, but some mornings are difficult for me, so I'm really trying to make it every morning with a intention of gratitude, just taking a second to, speak out loud what I'm grateful for. 10 minutes of sunshine, just to go in the sun and just get, that blessing of all those molecules that the sun gives you. And in the early morning, you have different infrared that is not as damaging as the afternoon rays. So you really want to get that early morning sun. It puts that melatonin into your pineal gland, and it just helps with anti-aging, your sleep that night. It's really critical. If you're having trouble sleeping, get that early morning sun. And then I would love to start with 10 minutes of meditation and visualization. There is not one mentor that is successful in life. And again, I mean people that have loving, peaceful, compassionate lives that no matter what their financial status is, they feel fulfilled and successful. They start their mornings with meditation and visualization. And it's really important. If you don't know what you need that day or want that day, you have to kind of take a moment, sit down, and give it thought. So that's why it's really important to meditate and visualize. He used the expression on the show, Robin Sharma, about MVP. Instead of being most valuable player, it was meditate, visualize, and prayer. Just starting your day with that, and just, and again, in that heart of compassion and gratitude. So I think my husband found my new to-do list. I have no secrets. I left it right out on the kitchen table, so it would be hard to spot. But I have this list of 20 new things that I want to accomplish every day. All 20 things is about 1 hour's worth of things. So that's nothing to add 1 hour in. 1 hour less of either looking at something silly on my phone or having, Netflix time. So just keep in mind that new good habits do not mean that it has to alter your entire life or your entire day, but it can bring you closer to what you truly do want, not the habits that you were just programmed with from youth. So, Cliff, is it hopeless?
I don't see any
All right,
activity.
why don't we take a quick break and I will reach out to her and see if we can make this happen. All right, everyone, hang on there. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll take about a minute and a half here or so, but you're listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, and we'll be right back.
Hi, Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Kras Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall.
Okay, we're back with Joanne's World of Nutrition. Joanne, here you go.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are going to get Cheryl on the show. We're just moments away from that exciting moment. Oh, I see her name up on the screen. I love it.
All I got to do is get her to start her video, and she'll be with us.
Yeah, so if you haven't listened to podcasts before, they are free on iPhones and they are really cool. And most cars, you can play them while you're driving. It's just, again, planting little seeds of knowledge. You don't have to really resonate with all the material you listen to in the podcast, but there's some pretty good podcasts out there with some good info. And there is my beautiful friend. Good morning, Cheryl.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be here.
It would help if you put headphones on, huh?
Yeah, you'll be able to hear
It
her.
must be. Oh, it's the full moon coming.
It must be.
What's happening?
I do not know. I knocked on the door several times. I just couldn't get in.
I couldn't open the door. I tried. And well, I filled with fluff. Well, I don't know what I talked about, but I filled the first 20 minutes with some fluff.
Oh gosh, sorry. I wish it, sometimes these weird things happen and I don't know it. We had some horrible thunderstorms come through last night.
We did too, not
we
last
had-
night, but 2 nights ago. It was crazy.
And we had a lot of trees down and I just wonder if something didn't get disrupted.
Okay, well, maybe we'll just say that. Who knows? But you're here, so that's all that matters. And so, how are you?
I am great and I'm excited to be here. It's always delightful to talk with you folks.
Thank you so much. So Cheryl Myers has been on the show many, many times. Because of the time issue, we're not going to talk about the backstory, but if you pull up any of our previous episodes on YouTube, she can tell you her amazing history and her wealth of knowledge from over the years. So let's just get right to the nitty-gritty. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, great. So the conversation, as always, and getting more prevalent, is about high glucose levels, A1C. My girlfriend, I had dinner with her last night. She lost 2 family members from diabetes, peripheral diabetes, and neuropathy, and dementia. I guess they're classifying different types of dementia now, and some are just heartbreaking. Like my dad had what the normal dementia, where you could watch him unfortunately progress slowly and go into a natural elderly death, but with her situations it was very quick, that it caused ravage in the body. So I know Terry Naturally has incredible products. Can you discuss with us some of them, like the Sucranatrol, Healthy Feet and Nerves, Berberine? Because I think people can't hear it enough to really get their glucose under control.
Absolutely. If I could change one thing in the health of America today, it would be something that goes hand in hand. And that would be our obesity epidemic and our crazy blood sugar metabolism and blood sugar levels that are going up, up, and up. It's not uncommon to see kids with type 2 diabetes nowadays. And I am not a shamer. I believe that if people are struggling with overweight and high blood sugar levels, it's not because they have weak wills. It's not because they're not trying hard enough. It's not because they breakfast on ho-hos and dine for dinner on Twinkies. There's a lot of effort that goes into, as we can see, there's a lot of effort that goes into weight loss. And as I said, the problems with our obesity epidemic is tied to our problems with blood glucose metabolism. And it is not just a problem that we have plentiful food. There's changes to our food supply. There's been changes that have happened in our metabolism that we just do not process things the same way. A lot of it, I think, is the advent of frankenfoods. A lot of it, I think, is our change to a more sedentary lifestyle. We could spend a whole show just talking about those reasons, but I just want to get that out there right off the get-go. If I could change anything, it would be our dysfunctional relationship with the kinds of foods that are hard on our blood sugar levels.
Love
And
that.
that's not just sugar. In fact, I would much rather eat a small piece of cake made with actual sugar and bromide-free flour and a couple of eggs than to eat some of the processed sugary high fructose foods or drink, my gosh, a beverage that's sweetened with high fructose corn syrup that are mildly
145
addictive.
grams of sugar. Yeah.
Yes, that are mildly addictive because they have caffeine in them, and I would much rather do that. So I'm not against all sugar, but I do think that from a dietary perspective, yes, we need to be more aware of the kinds of sugar we're consuming and the volumes. I mean, there's sugar hiding in salad dressings, ketchup, the things that you don't think would have sugar in them, soup, things you don't think would have sugar. So become an avid label reader. But moving on from that, knowing that a lot of people are struggling with this issue, some people say, well, you get fat and you get type 2 diabetes. Generally, it doesn't go that way. It's a hand-in-hand sort of situation. We develop something called insulin resistance. Insulin is a taxi cab that carries the sugar to the cell. Then it uses its garage door opener to open the garage door so that it can drive into the cell and deliver its fuel, because its sugar becomes fuel for the cell to do its job. Not just energy for us to go disco dancing. It's energy for the cell to do the cell's work, whether it's for a heart cell to beat, or a brain cell to fire, or a kidney cell to filter, or a skin cell to heal after you get a scratch. It requires energy. Every function in the body requires energy. So insulin resistance occurs when the taxi cab drives up with the sugar, but the garage door doesn't go up. So it drives to another cell, the garage door doesn't go up. Or maybe it goes up a little and it can deliver a little of its load, but it can't deliver the full load. So what does the taxi cab do? It just keeps driving through our bloodstream. That's why blood sugars, which should be under 100 when you're not eating, just keep going up and up and up and up. Is because of two things, and it can go hand in hand, it can be both, high volumes of sugar intake, but also the inability to get that garage door to go up, insulin resistance. After a while, your body goes, I guess none of the cells need to be fed. None of the cells need any energy. That's why the sugar keeps driving around in the bloodstream. But we might need it in the future, so I better turn this sugar into the storage form of sugar. And the storage form of sugar is fat, adipose tissue. So a lot of people say, oh, you get fat and you get diabetes. No, you usually start to have problems with blood sugar metabolism, and you then develop insulin resistance, and then your body starts depositing fat like crazy. And when you have really bad insulin resistance, I hear these stories all the time. I bet you do. I'm living on carrot sticks. I'm eating lettuce with fat-free dressing, which I hate fat-free, by the way. Fat-free dressing for lunch. I'm eating lean chicken breasts, and I took off a pound last month after starving myself. It's because of this dysfunctional relationship that creates problems with the metabolism of sugar in our bodies. So, lifestyle changes aside, let's go back to how do we help get that sugar into where it needs to be? Because ironically, diabetes is a disease of starvation, where the person just gets fatter and fatter as the cells are starving. Is that not the biggest irony ever?
Exactly. And so sad too.
It is so sad. And that's why I say if I could change one thing in the health of America that would have the biggest impact, it would probably be that.
Absolutely.
So we can do, there are some great nutrients, dietary supplements that can help. And one of them is an herb, and it is from a plant called Hintonia latiflora. And it's probably nothing that any of your listeners have heard of before. I've lived in this world for 26 years. I've worked in natural medicine. I'd never heard of it before, but it's from North America and Central America. It grows in the desert regions of southwestern United States, Mexico, Central America. It's a small shrub, or it's a shrub or a small tree, but the branches have bark on them. And the people that use this traditionally would soak the bark in water and drink it as a tea, as a tonic, not as a, not as a fun tea, but as something you would take, for whatever ails you. And German scientists, a long time ago, 70 years ago, it doesn't seem long to me. It's 1960s, seemed like 20 years ago. But back in the 1960s, German scientists thought, well, because they have for many years in the past been the leaders in using the natural world to create powerful medicines. So they looked at, well, what is it in this bark of this Hantonia that's giving the health benefits? And they started to analyze it, and it has a compound in it called deuterogenin. And they found that deuterogenin really reduces blood sugars. Not crazy reduces it, not like you take it and pass out from hypoglycemia, but it helps the ability of the sugar to get where the sugar is supposed to be. Now, so they started doing testing on it, and they created a product that in Germany is more like an over-the-counter drug. And in Germany, it has been sold in pharmacies for decades, and they called it Sucontrol D. Sucontrol D is a variation of the German word for sugar control for diabetes. So that's how the origin of this strange name came to be. So when we licensed it for use in the United States, we kept the name so that if people want to look up the published studies on this product, they could find it. It is, as I said, it's been on sale in Germany for a long time, a best-selling product sold in pharmacies and other places in Europe. We licensed it to bring it to the United States. It has a lot of published clinical studies, but I have one that's my favorite. 188 people. These 188 people with blood sugar problems all of them were being treated with dietary changes. So they all had that on board. Some of them, in addition to dietary changes, because they couldn't get their blood sugar under control, were also on what we call oral anti-diabetic agents, or oral hypoglycemics. So they were on oral medication to bring their blood sugar level down. Some people had already, those didn't work, and so they switched them up, and now they're getting insulin. Insulin is the most powerful product you can use in order to lower blood sugars, because it floods the body with taxicabs. The next group of people were the poor souls who had already tried all of these interventions, wasn't working, and so now they were getting both insulin and the oral drugs. So what the researchers wanted to see is, if we add this herbal medicine on top of this, will it help them further? And it did. And that's what impresses me. This was not on people that were not taking anything. This is on people where they had already kind of maxed out in the medical world. And what they found is, on average, it lowered the fasting blood sugar another 23%. It lowered the hemoglobin A1C by 11%. That's huge. It lowered something called postprandial blood sugar, which is how quickly your blood sugar returns to normal after you eat, by about 24%. They did this study for 8 months because they wanted to see adverse effects and they wanted to see long-term benefits. One of the best benefits was that after every single month, the symptoms associated with, or the discomforts associated with high blood sugar, went down and down and down. Those are things like changes to your GI tract, GI functioning. Those are things like itchiness, excessive sweating, excessive thirst, excessive urination. I think I said itching and skin irritations. So all of these things that can trouble people, neuropathies, pins and needles and such, all of these things were reduced month after month after month. And by month 8, there was an average 72% reduction in all symptoms associated with high blood sugars. So this to me is a wonderful product because it balances out what should be happening in your body naturally, gives it a little goose of what it should already be doing. Now, I'm not a reductionist. I don't think that when we look at plant medicines, they only do one thing. That's usually how prescription drugs work. So it does do a multitude of things. But a couple of things we know that it does. Number one is it slows down how quickly your refined carbohydrates and your carbohydrates are turned into sugar. So that doesn't mean it's a sugar blocker. It's not some kind of crazy diet pill, but it slows it down. Now, the reason that's important is because we eat, or many people eat, a lot of refined carbohydrates that just lickety split gets turned into sugar. Our bodies are Stone Age people. They're cavemen and cave women. We are Stone Age people that have had this modern world thrust upon us, and our body has not caught up. So the way that our pancreas, which is the organ that makes insulin, the way that the pancreas thinks is, if there's a lot of upfront sugars, that means a huge volume of food is behind it, and it goes crazy. So let's say you have a lunch and you have a couple of pieces of cheese pizza, and you wash it down with a 32-ounce Coke, and you kind of got a sugar craving now, and you decide that you're going to have a Three Musketeers candy bar, and people have that for lunch
I
sometimes,
know,
right?
I
I
know.
know. I mean, have you seen how our teenagers eat? Oh my gosh. So because the more you eat sugar, the more you crave sugar, right? It's unfortunate. So there's a huge bucket of sugar coming into the body, and your pancreas goes crazy. And it thinks, oh my gosh, I have to do something. And it releases huge amounts of taxi cabs, huge amounts of insulin in order to deal with that wave, because it thinks there's a lot behind it, and there's nothing behind it. And then what happens is, again, dealing with irony. It takes too much sugar out of the bloodstream. So it takes all the sugar out of the bloodstream because it's made too many taxi cabs. Your blood sugar goes from too high, roller coaster time, whoop, to a little bit low. What happens when your blood sugar is low? You crave sugars, you crave carbohydrates, you're hungry again. So that's why, because, so they've just eaten this huge meal, hour later, hour and a half later, they're hungry again. So it stimulates a process in our body that leads to overeating because of this roller coaster. So one of the things that the compound kudrogenin in the Sucontrol D can do is it slows down that process. So it's like kids at a grade school at a fire drill. Instead of coming in as this huge wave, it comes in as little bits at a time. It all gets in, but it comes in a more orderly fashion so your pancreas does not over respond. Another problem with having an overly responsive pancreas is you're hitting it with a stick to make it respond like that every time you eat a huge sugar meal. Eventually, your pancreas is going to put out less and less insulin because your pancreas has been overworked and now is entered into a dysfunctional phase. So to protect the pancreas long term and to avoid those dips and valleys short term, that's one way it works. But another way it works is it helps the garage doors go up better. The garage doors go up a little bit higher, they go up a little bit more frequently, so more sugar gets taken out of the bloodstream and into the cell, where it can be utilized as energy for the cell to do two things. It's energy for the cell to do its job, which we all want, of course, and energy for the cell to stay alive. So when you look at what do we need to stay alive? We need energy. We need food to stay alive, or we will die. If a cell dies, it gets replaced, right? Before you are even born, you have information written into your genetic code that tells your body exactly how many times it's going to replace its cells. So I'm making up a number. Let's say you get 100 cellular replications. You get to replace your cells 100 times throughout your lifespan. And let's say your cells live an average of a year. That means you're gonna live 100 years, unless you get, fall off a pier or get hit by a truck or something. But, it gives you an idea of what a lifespan might be. Now, let's say that you have a problem, either an illness, a chronic infection, a lot of inflammation, whatever the case may be, and now the cell only lives 80% of the time instead of 100% of its full span. Well, you might only live 80 years before you start running into trouble. Well, with diabetes, if the cells start to starve off early, the worse your diabetes, the higher your blood sugar levels, the more rapidly your cells need to replace themselves, and the shorter the lifespan. And you're going to start running into problems associated with age at younger and younger levels. So one of the best things we can do is to keep those blood sugars in a healthy range and to get our food into the cells. So maybe they live, instead of a year, maybe they live a year and a month. before they have to be replaced. And other changes to our lifestyle as well, which is why we need a lot of antioxidants in our diets and healthy fruits and vegetables. So there's so many things we can do to help people that are already struggling. It doesn't matter where you are in this spectrum of whether you're just thinking about, gosh, my mom had blood sugar problems, maybe I better pay attention, or you're in that range of your fasting blood sugar is 100 to 130 and the doctor is starting to say, oh, you're heading in the wrong direction, better start cutting out dessert, but doesn't take any action. Or you're higher than that and you're already being treated and you're just not getting where you need to be. So that's to me, the beauty of this product is that it can help you no matter where you are in that spectrum.
I love saying the word, but I get tongue tied. Hintatonia latiflora. Is that it right?
Hintonia.
Hintonia latiflora.
Isn't that pretty?
Beautiful, beautiful word. Hintonia latiflora. I'm sure Terry calls it something easier for consumers. What is the actual supplement?
Sucontrol D.
Control D. Beautiful. I've been selling it for years. I do take it. I love it. Now, I want to ask one question. With most of the prescriptions that are being used right now, there are heavy side effects with most of them. Some of them I'm not sure if it's true, but on social media they say there's lawsuits against most of them. So may I ask, does Sucrinitrol have any side effects that people need to be cautious about?
No serious adverse effects that we're aware of. And we also, at least according to the published studies at the drugs that they've examined so far, does not interfere with the way that oral or injectable medications work in the body. However, if you are being treated for diabetes, please do not throw your drugs out the window and say, I'm switching to this. Please work with your doctor. You need to be monitored. You need to make sure that your blood sugars are staying where they need to be, and find a way, say there's something I'm interested in trying, and if you need literature, I'm sure that you can provide them with a lot of the scientific literature, lists of studies, whatever you need. But please work with your practitioner to get yourself in a good place.
I love that. That's such great advice. And one thing I tell people, testing your blood sugar is probably the easiest way to see how your body's responding to your stressors, your diet, your sleep patterns. You can buy them now for $20 at any drugstore, a blood sugar testing kit. So definitely check that out. Sucanol treat. Oh my God, Cheryl, see? Because of the full moon, I'm even
Must
tongue-tied.
be.
All right. So Hintonia latiflora at the store, we have Sucrinitrol D, and we have lots of great pamphlets and free books that you can come check out. And again, Terry offers a money back guarantee. So he really wants to put these amazing products in the hands of consumers so they can give it a fair try and really help affect their health. So definitely look into that. And I know many of my mentors always say the first step is lowering that A1C for anti-aging benefits, numerous health benefits, because that cascade that happens with that high glucose, like you mentioned, it's not just the neuropathy, but we do need to talk about that because that is when people really start noticing. They go to step off the bed and they're like, wait, I don't feel my feet like I did for the last 40 years. So can you approach that subject for me, Cheryl?
Absolutely. So one of the complications of having high blood sugar levels is called diabetic neuropathy. And neuropathy is not a disease, it's a symptom. It just means sickness of the nerves. That's in this case caused by diabetes. The actual thing that's going on is that the nerves and the blood vessels that nourish the nerves are being damaged by the high levels of blood sugar. Some neuropathies are completely reversible. Some are partially reversible. Some of them you can stop them from getting worse. So there's various ways that we can intervene to help people that are struggling with neuropathies. It's usually in the feet because your feet are the farthest distance from your heart of anywhere in your body. Some people have issues with their hands as well. Now, neuropathies are caused by more than diabetes, but the vast majority are caused by diabetes. There's also diseases called peripheral neuropathies that are associated with problematic circulation. There are adverse effects from chemotherapy treatments that can leave some temporary or permanent nerve damage in the hands and feet. So there are other things, but the vast majority are people struggling with blood sugar. So of course, the first thing you need to do is take away the stressor, take away what's causing the damage, get the blood sugar controlled, normal, keeping it even keel. Stop with the roller coaster. Then the next thing we need to do is make sure that we can enhance that circulation and reduce the damage that's being done to the nerves. Now, we do have a product called Healthy Feet and Nerves that's designed with the specific nutrients that are needed in order to help nourish our nerves in our feet, help settle them down so that they aren't firing abnormally, help with helping to stimulate regeneration and stimulate repair. One of the heavy lifters is called alpha lipoic acid. And alpha lipoic acid in Europe is used as a treatment for neuropathies. It has many studies showing that it reduces neuropathies and helps to reverse that process. So that is the heavy lifter. But I have to say that alpha lipoic acid is a little bit expensive and it's very hard to work with from a manufacturing standpoint because it's sticky. So a lot of products on the market put in 10, 20, 30 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid in order to get it on the label and say, woo, alpha lipoic acid, it's studied for X, Y, Z. And people go, wow, and it's such a reasonable price. But the truth is you need at least 600 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid every day to match the clinical trials that have been done to show a significant impact on nerve damage or stress on the nerves, either from inflammation or pressing or whatever. And we do provide that 600 milligrams. So that's important that you make sure you get that dosage. We also have some B vitamins that are in their already human form. So B vitamins can be in the inactive form, like the kind we find in foods or most supplements, but then they come into your body, they go to your liver, and your liver does a presto changeo, and it turns them from the inactive form to the human form, to the ready to be used active form. If your liver isn't working right, for whatever reason, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, history of cirrhosis, history of drug abuse, alcohol abuse that's left a little liver damage, liver cancer in the past, part of your liver removed. I could go on and on. Having certain drugs make it harder for the liver to do that conversion process, like anti-seizure medications are hard on the liver, but you can't do without them. So we look at all of these things that stress the liver, lots and lots of people, and some people just don't have the best genetics for conversion. They can take in all the B vitamins they want, and they don't get converted into what they need to be. So that's why we bypass that system entirely and we put them in already converted. That's called the methylated form or the active form of the B vitamins. And one of the most crucial nutrients in the whole food world for proper nerve function and for nerve regeneration and for repairing nerves that are undergoing any kind of stress is the B vitamin family. And the very people that need it the most, which are often people with type 2 diabetes, tend to be the ones that aren't the best converters. So on paper, they think they're getting what they need, but their body is not getting what they need. So that's one of the other, I think, beauties of this product. The B vitamins are in their already converted form. Doesn't even matter. It's going to work for everyone. And then last but not least, I'm skipping a few ingredients, but another heavy lifter is we have a unique boswellia. Boswellia is known as an anti-inflammatory. The best all-around anti-inflammatory in the plant world is curcumin. It touches every kind of inflammation. But there are certain kinds of inflammation that are a little more specific called 5-LOX or 5-lipoxygenase inflammation. And that's where boswellia shines. Curcumin touches it, boswellia nails it. So even though boswellia isn't great, isn't the best all around, it's the best for this kind of inflammation. And we see a lot of that type when it comes to the different kinds of issues that happen with our nerves that leads to neuropathy. So we have, and our boswellia is 10 to 20 times stronger than your garden variety because of its standardization and purification processes. It's a really, really potent clinically studied. That means used in human clinical trials that have been published in peer-reviewed periodicals to really do a great job of reducing that kind of inflammation. Now, I have to tell you that changes in nerves are very slow. You know, if you have a headache, I can give you some Curamin or some Curamin Extra Strength, which are our natural pain relievers with curcumin and boswellia, and you're going to feel better in an hour or two. If you're having menstrual cramps, if you twist your ankle, there's things that act really fast. When it comes to nerves, they can be very slow. So please, if you decide to use this to help make your nerves healthier and to try to get to a better place, don't take it for a week and say, oh my gosh, it's not working. You need to stay on this, I would say a minimum of 2 months to give it a fair trial. Many people will feel a difference after 2 weeks. We had a gentleman that just contacted us that said 2.5 weeks in, he could not believe the difference. But for other people, it just doesn't happen that fast. And I don't want people to give up. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make when using our products is they take it for a week, they expect it to act like a drug, they expect things to change rapidly, and they don't. But trust me, if you stick with it for 2 months, you are going to be in a much better place. And the longer you use it, along with other dietary changes, you're going to get better and better. Remember that, as you said earlier, our company has a money back guarantee. If you're unhappy for any reason, you can return it to us. Please do not return to us a bottle that only has 6 pills out of it. Because, it's some people feel that way, like, oh, I took it for 2 or 3 days, and it's not doing anything, I'm going to return it. No, or they're afraid they're not going to get their money back if they took too much of it, right?
That's
No,
exactly what people come back like after 1 day or 2 days. And I'm
no.
like, no, no, no. Bring the bottle back home, okay? Finish it. And then if you really don't think it works, and they never do, they
Yeah.
always get a difference and they buy the second bottle.
I think they need that confidence that even if you take it for you buy 2 bottles, you take it for 2 months. If we will give you your money back for empty bottles, we will absolutely, and we can afford to do that because our company has less than a 1% return rate, which I don't know, other companies aren't so forthcoming with their return rates, but I gotta think it is either the lowest or one of the lowest return rates in the industry. And you would probably know better than me how many returns there are with our products. Because if you give it a fair trial, if you stick with it for a while, you are going to feel better. And that's what we want. We don't want patients for the short run. We don't want customers for the short run. We don't want to, sell things that people buy once and then it doesn't do anything for them and they walk away from this world, because there's so many differences that we can make in people's health if we can just get them connected to products that actually work.
Yes, absolutely. And, there is an old-fashioned saying that your symptoms didn't develop overnight, so you
No.
have to give it time to kind of unwind and get the layers of the onion resolved and get back into balance. So I love the idea of the healthy feet and nerves and the sucralfate D. And so they seem to go hand in hand. And I know you didn't mention all the ingredients because of time, but benfotiamine is in your healthy feet and nerves too, right?
Absolutely. That's the fat soluble form of thiamine.
I
And
love benfotiamine. It's
I
in a
do.
lot of our rehabs. A lot of my clients that have some addictive behavior issues, the benfotiamine seems to really help with them. So I do love benfotiamine.
It also has studies specifically on things like diabetic neuropathies, because thiamine, one of the B vitamins, is very, very important, but it's a water soluble vitamin and it's in and out of your body very quickly. And so this is a fat soluble form of thiamine. It stays in the body 5 to 6 times longer, which means it has a much, as you've noticed with your customers, a much more powerful impact.
Yes, I love it. So I would love to cover in the last 5 minutes berberine. Could
All
you?
right. So berberine is not a plant. It's a compound found in a variety of plants. But it's wonderful and it's been in the news a lot lately because people are pitching it for weight loss. I really don't like that. You don't lose weight because you take an herb, in this case, and magically you're gonna lose 20 pounds in 20 days. I wish that were so. I would look like Cindy Crawford right now, right?
That's what I
So
tell everybody.
but it is also true that if you start to correct issues with your blood sugar metabolism, remember what I said is that the blood sugar metabolism problems come first and then the weight starts piling on. If you start to deal with some of those underlying factors, it will be easier to lose weight, and you might even lose a little bit of weight without even trying. Some of the studies have shown over 3 months, people take off a pound or two. Even though that's not huge, that's going in the right direction. At least you're not continuing to pack it on. And so berberine works a little differently than sucralfate D. It has also been useful for people that are struggling with blood sugar issues, but it's a little bit more directed towards the activity of an enzyme called AMPK. We don't have a lot of time to go into how it works, but just know that that is one of the most important enzyme systems in our body for turning fuel into energy. And what we see with the studies on berberine is it's been looking at problems with metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of symptoms, and one of which is abnormal blood sugars and difficulty with blood sugar metabolism, and also high blood pressure, dysfunctional cholesterol. So I'm not all about lowering the cholesterol like crazy, but I am about balance. Some of the other issues are gaining weight around the waist, the donut, the beer belly, whatever you want to call it, but that adipose tissue around the weight, gaining that weight. And so when we look at that, that's called metabolic syndrome because those symptoms all cluster together. And they do have a common denominator, and that is the difficulty of the process of turning food into energy. And berberine is one of the best interventions. The problem with berberine is it is not very well absorbed. Very little is absorbed, so you have to take these big doses. The clinical studies are 500 milligrams 3 times a day. A lot of people don't tolerate that very well. They can cause an upset stomach. Not everyone, I don't want to scare you off, but some people don't do heartburn. I've heard a lot of complaints of heartburn, constipation, or diarrhea. Changing some of those things, people just don't tolerate it very well. So Terry developed a berberine with a boosted absorption. And it is using our Gamazorb system, which is a natural plant compound called cyclodextrin that helps to facilitate and boost absorption. So for those individuals who either are uncomfortable if they take the higher doses or don't want or will not stick with a regimen of 3 times a day, he does have a once to twice a day with the boosted absorption called Berberine Med X Ultra.
That's right.
And that product can be very useful for those individuals. 1 per day. If you're really struggling and you're not getting to where you need to be, absolutely you can take a second dose at night, but you're really going to get a goodly amount of berberine on board that can help you with rebalancing that aspect that is sometimes the trigger for metabolic syndrome in the first place.
Wow,
Whew, that was
Cheryl,
fast.
as always, boy, right to the second. I love it. So sorry about the mix up this morning. And again, I'm so glad you got on and we covered a really important topic. So thank you so much, Cheryl. And to the next time. Bye,
You bet.
everyone. Have an amazing week. And again, cut the sugar out slowly. Just like caffeine withdrawal, sugar withdrawal is a real thing. So just start where you can and each day be your best version of yourself. All right. Thanks, Cheryl. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Next week.
You've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, presented by Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce. US 1 at Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce's City Hall, with plenty of parking on the 5th Street side of the, used to be the arcade building, it's now Crash Square. That's where you'll find Joanne's Nutrition World. By the way, this is WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world, where another Joanne's episode coming up after CBS News. It's 11 o'clock.